everybody. Welcome back to Reading Sprints and Chai Sips. I'm your girl, Sasha Bonet, and we're going to do a January wrap up. And my January went okay. I only read 20 books, and usually 20 books is kind of low for me, especially in the beginning of the year. I usually hit the year running at full speed ahead. But this month just is slow for me, and it's not a bad thing, it's just different. But let's get into the 20 books that I read. Let's get into it. I read this Fairy Loot edition, July 2023. That is when this one came out, and this is The Threads That Bind by Kika Hasapalu. And I honestly enjoyed this book a lot. It is YA. It felt like YA. It ran like YA. One of my biggest problems with Fairy Loot, Illumicrate, their adult book boxes were where the books are written to be adult or new adult. They feel like YA characters. This is a YA book that felt like a YA book, read like a YA book, and I enjoyed it. Basically, this is remnants left of gods, right, are in people. So our main character, Io, can see the threads that are connected to a person, and it could be a life thread, it could be a love thread, it could be a home thread, it could be your favorite food thread. But she has two other sisters, and they are fated to be three sides basically of one coin, if you will, even though we only know there's two sides to a coin. Bear with me. Three sides to a coin. And it just follows her learning that she has a fate thread, which means there's a love interest. There's also a sister who goes away. There's a sister that stays. Her parents have long passed away, and it was only those three, but now it's those two because one left. It's a whole big thing, and I enjoyed it. I do recommend it if you like Greek gods that are no longer here and they left descendants and stuff like that. This one is for you. I enjoyed it. Next, we have Love Times Infinity by Lane Clark. It says, choose love, the possibilities are endless. And in this story, I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. This one was so good. It brings a tear to your eye. It tugs on your heartstrings. And this is a book that I wish a lot of YA aged people and above could get their hands on, because our main character is a product of SA, and that can destroy not only the person who was SA'd, but all of the products of life around them, family, children that may be born from that. Everyone is affected by that, especially the person that was hurt by it, but everyone around them. And this story follows our main character, who is a product of that and feels like, I don't belong here, I shouldn't be here, and working through that trauma all her life, and not knowing how to accept love because she feels like she doesn't deserve it and shouldn't have it because she shouldn't be here. This book was so good. I recommend this book to everyone. There is no SA in this book, but it is a conversation, and I love it. 5 out of 5 stars, I wholeheartedly recommend. A reread was Mel Dawes' My Choice Is You. And this is a reread because I read it on Kindle, and then I went to my book event last year, A Southern Hearts and Signed Kisses, which there will be a video for coming soon. Yeah, so I bought it from Mel Dawes. She, signed it and everything, which I love. So I read it physically, and I was just kicking my feet and laughing. This has autism representation, and I enjoy it so much when characters just click. Like, they just click. I don't know what else to say it. Like, the characters in the book click. Everyone in the book is clicking. I love the conversation that he has with her father at one point, and they're talking in street lingo. It's like, because I know how to whistle well, and I'm laughing because she's like, Wait, why do you, what's all the whistling? I just love this book. This book is so good. And on my first read of this, I gave it like a 4.5. And on my reread, I bumped it up 5 stars. 5 stars. I enjoyed it. And I wholeheartedly recommend this book. This one right here. Indie author as well. Moving on, we have Rosie Adams, Love Scammed. Rosie Adams is one of my favorite indie authors, romance authors. And this book is just a short one. And it's basically two people who have never met have friends. And you meet the two friends. If you read Rosie Adams, there is a book that she wrote called 8. And it has the two friends of the two characters we meet in this book. And I enjoyed that book as well. But those two friends have two friends. And in this book, we meet those two friends and they've been set up on a blind date to go out of the country. And they've never met each other. Their friends have been trying to hook them up for forever. But our female main character in this book is like, I'm over it. I don't want romance right now. I don't want that. So her friend basically is like, I know better for you what's good for you. And this man checks all of the boxes that I know that you like. You just won't give him a chance. So her and her man set their friends up to meet. And that's why it's called Love Scammed. But it is so cute. It is so... the message of this book is you deserve love and you deserve it softly. You deserve it the way that you want it and need it. You deserve it to be that way, and it can be easy. It doesn't have to be hard. Next book is The Rabbit Hutch by Tess Gunty. All I'm going to say about this book is I don't know what the hell this was. And I kept reading because I wanted to know something. I wanted to know something, anything possible that could have happened. And nothing. I don't know what this was. I think I gave this 1 or 2 stars. But when reading this book, there is a scene or a chapter, whatever you want to call it, that has nothing but pictures. And it's the way that whatever is happening in this book is going down. And I thought that was cool. But everything else in this book is a whole bunch of I don't know. And everybody who lives in this building basically has a POV in this book. That sounds interesting, but it's not. There's a whole lot of stuff in here that feels fragmented. I'm gonna just leave it at that. I read the classic of Oedipus the King by Sophocles, and I gave this 5 stars. Everyone knows that Freud was always talking about men wanting to sleep with their mothers. This is where that comes from. And I don't know, I mean, I know where he got it from, but I don't know if he misconstrued it or if we misconstrued what Freud was actually saying. Because this is not about a boy who wanted to sleep with his mother. He was like cursed, kind of like from birth, that he would kill his father and sleep with his mother. So he ran as far away as possible to never have to do those things, only to find out that because you're destined to do something, it's going to happen anyway. Plus, he had a chip on his shoulder. So every time someone said, maybe you shouldn't do that, or no, maybe you should stop, or why do you want to know that? Sometimes leaving well enough alone is just fine, because the more he pushed, the more it took him closer to fulfilling the prophecy of him killing his father and sleeping with his mother. But I did enjoy this. I do feel like plays in any form should be watched, whether it's an adaptation in a movie or an actual play instead of read. But neither here nor there. I enjoyed the story. 5 stars. Next is Death Note, the Black Edition, volume 3. And this was the last volume that I physically owned. So I have to buy 4, 5, and 6. However, slow your roll, slow your roll. We're not doing that yet. I'm just finished with volume 3. This one, and I'm watching the show, so I've gotten up to, after I finished this, I watched the show up until the ending of the book. The manga and the show mirror each other exactly. So my opinion more so is, if you have never read Death Note in physical form as a manga, it really does not matter if you intend to watch the show. It is just fine to do either or both, like I'm doing right now. But I'm enjoying these. They're very unserious to a certain point. They are not horror because there's nothing traditional horror about them. However, people are horrifying. Yes. Next, we have Holding by Alexandria House. This is the second book in the St. Louis Sires, where we're following neighbors to friends to lovers to married to divorced to back together. That's a lot in a short amount of pages. I enjoyed this. I gave it 4 stars, and I will be continuing this. I only have one more in this series left, and I can't wait. Next, we have The Kind Worth Saving by Peter Swanson, which is a thriller, and I liked the first one, The Kind Worth Killing, better than this one because the things that happened in that one were more of a surprise because it was the first book. And since this is the second book, it's not that much of a surprise. You know everything that's happening. You're just waiting for everything to unfold, is my opinion. I think I gave this like a 3.5. I'm going to move on to the third book soon to finish out the series, but I enjoyed it well enough. Next, we have another classic, To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. Did you know I went my whole life thinking Harper Lee was a man? Because I read this only once in my life, and it was in school. And I don't remember what edition I had back then, and it was a school book, so it wasn't like I owned it myself. So I don't even know if Harper Lee had a picture in the one that I read when I was in school, but she is a woman, and she just died recently. And when I say recently, within the last few years, and this was technically her only book up until she wrote Watchmen, which is the sequel to this one, but she just wrote it like a year before she passed. That's wild, and I will not be reading it. But this one, I think I gave this 5 stars. It is just a coming of age story. I gave it 5 stars. It is written so well. The time frame in which the conversations that would be brought up about this book, it's just the times. But there is a quote in here. The one place where a man ought to get a square deal is in a courtroom, be he any color of the rainbow, but people have a way of carrying their resentments right into a jury box. As you grow older, you'll see white men cheat black men every day of your life. But let me tell you something, and don't you forget it. Whenever a white man does that to a black man, no matter who he is, how rich he is, or how fine a family he comes from, that white man is trash. And I wholeheartedly agree. Moving on. I read Neighbors and Other Stories by Diane Oliver, and I am not a short stories collection kind of person. Why do I keep buying them though? Why do I keep getting them? I don't know. But I enjoyed this one. I really did. I think my issue with short story collections is that if I do like a short story in that short story collection, I'm like, but where's the rest? Or I want it more. And I can't get that because it's a short story collection. And sometimes there are no endings. Most of these had no endings. But I enjoyed them. And they're set in a time of Jim Crow, racism, and all of that. There is a story in here where, you know, I put the book down because it took me a while to read this, not because it was hard to read, hard to comprehend. But there are many stories in here that make you just want to put the book down and have an inner dialogue or something, or start a conversation with someone in your home, one of your friends, family, whatever, about what is in here. And one of the stories in this book that gave me that moment was, the topic was basically a family is tasked with, a black family is tasked with their son going to an all-white school for the first time. The family is losing their jobs. People are told not to talk to them. white people who have other black people in their homes, washing, cooking, cleaning, whatever they're doing, watching their kids, whatever, are firing some of their people because they're like, you like that kind of stuff? Would you ever do that kind of stuff? Like put your kids in try to put your kids with my kids? Like, that's not right. And it's like the question I was having with myself is, as a parent myself, would I have put my child, especially as young as some of them were back then, and this child in this story was very young, would I put my child through that? Because I can't go to school with the child. And it's not like that was happening. It's not like the parents were holding the children's hands and going to class with them to take the brunt of the vitriol that was being held at children, right? So would I put my child through that kind of vitriol to do one small leap for mankind kind of thing? And I don't think I would have. And yes, I know that's how segregation and I don't care. As one person, as one parent with one child, no matter how many children you have, there's this one child that's going, and you cannot save them from that. You barely can save them in the world itself, especially at that time. You definitely can't save them when they're not with you. I don't know. But this book was really good. I think I gave it 4.5 stars. It was really, really good. I do recommend it. Let me know if I'm wrong in the comments, but I do believe this was put all together posthumously as a collection. I finished Hot Vampire Next Door Season 5 by Nikki St. Crow. And with this book, I have finished all of the works that have been published, indie-wise, by Nikki St. Crow, and I'm happy about that. But I do think this series, for me, as I was not on her Patreon or on Kindle Vella when she was making these, so it's very episodic, and I get why it's episodic, but as a book, I was done in season 3 with this series because the two main characters are so, like, they become ridiculous at a point in time, just like Vampire Diaries, right? But I still enjoyed the series. I finished the Carve the Mark series by Veronica Roth by reading The Fates Divide. I was as uninvested with this one as I was with the first one. Veronica Roth built a tremendously vast world and kind of told us nothing about it. I didn't get it. If you got it, let me know in the comments, but I did not get it. It is only a duology. I believe the only reason I'm not going to unhaul this is because I think I need a second go at it, because maybe I just missed the mark, pun intended. I do want another crack at it in a couple of years. Maybe I'm more fine-tuned in my fantasy reading that I might just get it. And it's signed, so why not keep it? Next, we have Accidentally in Love by Danielle Jackson. I DNF'd this 50% in. This is boring. But I already had this one because the first one, I read it all the way through. I did not enjoy it. And this one I already had, and that's why it took me so long to get to it, because I kind of felt like I wasn't going to like it either. A book that I finished that I wish I did not finish, You Bet Your Heart by Danielle Parker. Two multiracial children fighting over who's going to get a valedictorian at their school by bringing up, hey, I'm half Asian and half black, but the other one said I'm half black and half Jewish, which to me made absolutely no damn sense. This annoyed me. I don't know. This book just annoyed the hell out of me, and it's gonna be unhauled. Take that how you will. Another book that drove me straight up and down all of the walls in my home was The Confessions of Matthew Strong by Usman K. Power Green. I despise characters that preach one thing and can't do it. I don't like characters that pander to whiteness. If you saw my video, I explained it in there, but our main character was a fool. Moving on. Here's a book from the Baddies book box, and it's called Chasing Love by Kat T. Mason. And I DNF'd this book on page 77. This book does a lot of things that make no damn sense. One is it glorifies cheating because the man in this book was cheating on his wife with his sister's best friend. That's one. Two, he met her as his sister's best friend, but when there's a flashback, he's 25 and already married. He's in med school. Her and his sister are about to go to prom. Prom. They're about to go to prom. He starts tickling her and he's like, ooh, she's not like other girls because she can smile when being tickled. I didn't get it. But I also was like, prom, 25. Predatory behavior. That's the second thing. The third thing this book did was a little weird because in the flashback, he didn't have an accent. He was American English. In the present, he is British English. It's weird. It's so weird. And I just said, what the fuck is this? Moving on. The book I got from the library, which is Son of the Storm. Son of the Storm by Suyi Davies Okamboa. It was part of my books I don't own the first series to, the first book in the series to. And that one I DNF'd after reading the first part of the book. I did not care about any of the characters, and it's said to be YA, but it, in my opinion, was adult or new adult. I would say new adult, more new adult than YA. And there were sex scenes in the book that were just cringe. And like I said, I wasn't invested in any one person in that story, so I DNF'd it, which means that this book, which is the second one, Warrior of the Wind, is going to be on hold because if I didn't finish the first one, I can't get to this one. Then there was this book, which is a part of the Walking Dead novels, which I enjoyed so much. I gave it 4 stars. There was a twist in it that I had called from the very beginning. And I don't think it set up a twist at all. It just was. And I enjoyed that tremendously. And they are very different from the show and very different from the comics because, again, you get none of this backstory about the governor. You get no exposition into who he was before by watching the shows or reading the comics. And this is what this is. I took it back to the library already. It was due, but I enjoyed it tremendously. And that means I've already put the second one on hold. I also read The Brooklyn Way by Tracy Gray. I gave this book 3 stars. It was over descriptive to a fault because it kind of started to make the book a little boring. But the premise of the book was absolutely fine. Best friend's brother. He's a basketball player. She just got out of a bad situation. She's living in his pool house. His ex-girlfriend comes into play at some point, which didn't do enough for me. And I also listened to Love and Winter Wonderland by Abiola Bello. This book was bad. This book right here looks cute, cutesy. This book was bad. The main character, Ariel and the MMCJ, what is his name? Trey. Jesus. Both of them not good people. What are we teaching our girls? I am tired of the books where the girls, women, people just do not like themselves. They find no value in themselves until a boy or a girl comes along and likes them. I also read Funny Story by Emily Henry. I enjoyed it a lot only because it was very surface level. It had a lot of things that were deeper into our FMC, especially her character. The problem is she had nothing going for herself except for that man in that book that she started the book with, not the man that she ended the book with. I also read Rotting Desire, Zombie Erotica. Don't judge. I did read it. It had an actual good premise until we got to the erotica. Those are all the books that I read in January. Let me know if you've read any of these books. Let me know if you have any recommendations for books that are kind of like the ones you heard me talk about. And I will definitely see you in the next one. Bye.